welcome to the Worship War podcast. We are on the episode 3. Apologies for the delays in shooting. It has been a stretch. And apologies that my co-podcast presenter, Precious, could not join us today. She's been feeling a bit under the weather. Hopefully she'll be able to join us in the next episode. So in this episode, our theme is Scaling the Corporate World, a Leader's Journey. And I am honored to be joined by my brother, who is also a corporate leader renowned in the corporate world. His name is Joey Shumbamhini. Like as I have said before in my previous episodes, Worship War is inspired by the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah represented a leader. You know, I was in awe as I was reading the book of Nehemiah yesterday. The techniques that he used to apply in the book of Nehemiah are typical of a corporate leader. So today it's an honor to be joined by a leader to share with us his experiences in the corporate world. Joey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, privilege, and I'm happy to be here.
Mr. Gr, where does that come from? Just to lighten up the mood.
Thank you so much for that question, and I've assumed many names throughout my working history. I remember working for CBZ. I was known as Simon Says because I used to write articles on risk management, which were known as Simon Says. So at CBZ, I was known as Simon Says. When I left CBZ to join Zimra, I assumed a new name, which is Mr. Whitehead. Again, I started writing articles under the banner of Whitehead. I was also known as Mr. Heads and Shoulders. Now I'm with the Youth Corp. I've assumed a new name, Mr. Grr. It means I always want to encourage people to keep on moving forward, be it at a slower pace or a faster pace, but in life you just need to continuously make improvements. So Grr means keep on moving forward. So I've assumed so many names in different, because my hobby is just to inspire people, to inspire confidence in people that you can do it. That's where the Mr. Grr came from.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to briefly read your LinkedIn profile. It's not very long, but I'll try to even shorten it more. Joey Shumbamhini is a 3-in-1 packaged individual who is a statistician, a business development specialist, and a change management strategist, all wrapped up in one. And Joey has more than 20 years experience in the financial services sector, with special emphasis on research and strategic business development. Joey, you are renowned for developing several innovative risk financing solutions in the Zimbabwean industrial sector. And you are an effective team player. I'm glad it is mentioned in this LinkedIn profile because one of the questions I'm going to be asking you is about team building. His work experience includes working for CBZ Insurance Operations, where he started as a sales and marketing executive for CBZ Limited, and then he joined CBZ Life at its formation, and he developed and implemented the company's maiden marketing strategy that led to it becoming the fastest growing life assurance company in Zimbabwe during its first 3 years. So now let me just cut it briefly here. From just reading your profile, I can see that you've got the gift of planting. Because it's saying you developed this, you developed that, you've got the gift of planting. Where do you think you get that from? Is it a natural thing or it's something that you learned?
Yeah, I would say my passion is just to change things, to see things developing. If it's not changing, it's not motivating me. Some people would say perhaps I'm a job hopper because I've worked for so many companies, but it's because if I develop something and I see it working, there's no reason to stay. So I'm motivated by starting new things, by making them work. Well, whether it's natural or it's learned, but I would want to believe when every person is born, they are born with a gift.
Yes.
And perhaps you might not know your gift in life, but when I discovered that I'm a turnaround strategist, I'm always motivated by joining things, starting new things, and making sure that things work. So yes, it is natural, but I believe also people can learn. Yeah.
So that is your gift. Because if you've got the gift of planting, once the fruit has cropped up, you are now driven to move on to the other, to another project. You cannot stay in one place. Once you've planted and the roots are deeply seated, that means you now want to move on. And this is exactly the same gift that Nehemiah had. Before the podcast started, I was asking you, have you ever read the book of Nehemiah? And you said no. But I'm going to be basing my questions from the book of Nehemiah. Never mind about that you haven't read it before. I'll give you a background on each and every question that I'm going to be asking you. Which leads me to the segment 2 of this podcast, which I called Scaling the Corporate World.
Okay.
First question being, now these are the questions that I'm going to be basing on the book of Nehemiah.
Okay.
First question being, question on quiet time as a leader. That is the topic I gave this question. So Nehemiah was assigned, or rather, he was concerned when the walls of Jerusalem had fallen. The Israelites had been taken into captivity. That is the background that I'm giving you now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nehemiah was concerned about the remnant that had been left behind in Jerusalem. So he asked one of his friends, how are they? And the friend said, it is bad. The walls of Jerusalem have fallen. The remnant are suffering because they do not have a wall to protect them. So Nehemiah saw a project and he's like, I've got to fix these walls. That's why I'm calling him a leader. He was like a CEO who's seen walls that are fallen. And so the first segment, which I've called question on quiet time as a leader, before rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, Nehemiah spent time assessing the situation and gathering information. He took time. He did not tell anybody that he had a plan to fix fallen walls. He took time to quietly assess the damage to Jerusalem's walls. Now, as a leader, Joey, as a CEO, do you have a similar process of quiet assessment before making big decisions or taking bold action? Or maybe you can just practically give us an example of the journey you've walked as a leader and the quiet reflections that you've taken when you've been assigned. I know you're a leader who's been assigned even national projects at one point. And how did that go for you?
No, thank you so much for quoting the book of Nehemiah, and indeed it reverberates well with the issue to say it is sometimes lonely at the top. Yes. I started my journey as a clerk, and I was not lonely when I became an officer. I was not lonely when I became a manager. I was not lonely, but then when you become a CEO, you somehow get lonely, because most of the problems are being brought to you. There obviously are the staff members who always be bringing to you problems, and it becomes lonely. So I could relate with Nehemiah when he's told that the walls were falling apart. So indeed it is lonely at the top, and your role is to give assurance to the people that are following you that all is well. Even in a situation of a crisis, you just have to remain confident. You don't need to panic. Because once the staff members realize that you are panicking, it then becomes chaos. So at times you can have bad news, you can have a crisis, but you try to remain calm. And if there is a problem, more often we see people actioning without doing analysis. What you might be thinking is a problem may not be a problem, but if there is a situation, be it in a corporate world, as a leader, you need to remain calm, and you need to do analysis. Perhaps you also need to take time to ask the employees. Perhaps the employees then realize there's a problem. Give them time. What do you think? What can we do? How can we resolve this situation? Even if you have an answer, try to make them be part of the creation of a solution. It gives them confidence, and once they know that our leader does not panic, then they have confidence in the solution. You have mentioned some quiet time. Of course, as a leader, you actually need it, where you reflect, where you actually analyze the situation. Perhaps you've got a problem. Take time off, which is why you find that most leaders, they've got benefits like holiday packages. You just go out, time to reflect, time to be alone, time to think, time to craft strategies, and then time to implement. Because if you then react and then implement solutions without analysis, sometimes the solutions, and most often the solutions will be wrong. So yes, be calm as a leader, and also have time to reflect, time to think, time to analyze, and involve your staff members in crafting solutions to resolve corporate problems.
Yes, yes, indeed. I love how you ended your response. They involve your team members, which is one of the great aspects which Nehemiah had. He did not rebuild the wall by himself. The first thing that he did, he took some quiet time, and then he thought, I need a team. He assembled many builders. There's a whole chapter. I encourage you please to go and read the book of Nehemiah. It's great for corporate leaders, and I also encourage corporate leaders out there to read the book of Nehemiah. It's very motivational for CEOs, for directors. So, which leads me to my next question, which is on team building. I wrote here, I shall read as is because I don't want to distort anything. Nehemiah's ability to unite people from different backgrounds and skill sets was key to his success. As we read in the book of Nehemiah, effective leadership involves more than just giving orders. It requires empowering and motivating others to make ownership of their work. Just as we see Nehemiah, he assembled a team of builders. There's a whole chapter which talks about many builders that came together to help him raise the wall which had fallen. Now, Joey, how do you foster a sense of unity and collaboration amongst team members? And what strategies do you use to ensure everyone is working towards the same objective?
Thank you so much. And I think this is indeed a topical issue in corporates, because an effective leader is one who is able to build winning teams. By building winning teams, you are building people who are empowered. The key factor to successful leadership is empowerment, because at times as leaders we do not empower our employees. They then are stuck in terms of decision making. For example, if you are not there, you leave for a holiday, you make them acting, you don't empower them to make decisions, you don't allow them, or your tolerance for mistakes is very low. You don't allow them to make mistakes, so they are not confident. And it is important to know that in a work environment, there are people with diverse cultures, people with diverse behaviors. So the job of a leader is to make employees gel, for them to see no boundaries, to see no differences in culture, and allow them to participate. I think a leader is someone who empowers the employees. Because if you are a leader, the first thing that you need to ask them, can someone replace you if you are to die tomorrow? If an accident happens to you, you are to die. And if you see that there's no one who can replace you, it means you still have got a lot of work to do. So your ratio in terms of replacement, you must have 3-4 people who are confident to take up, and you must be confident to go on a holiday because there is someone who can take up your role. The same applies to the other managers who are below you. So effective teamwork means you empower your subordinates to act, you empower your subordinates to try new things, you allow them to fail. At times leaders are known just for cracking the whip. If an employee makes a mistake, you just crack the whip. You don't give them time to develop. You don't give them the freedom. You don't give them empowerment. Therefore, sometimes they would have talents and they sort of hide or hide their ideas because they are afraid of you. So teamwork is about leaders inspiring confidence in their followers. So this is one of the key factors of a successful leader.
So we trust the wall will still stand even if you are on holiday in Mauritius with the family. You are not checking on your laptop to see if the team is performing well.
That's true, and you are not always looking at your phone to say, the moment you see that people or your subordinates are always asking you things when you are away, it means there could be some areas of development that you need to grow. You need to groom leaders, because a leader is measured by the number of leaders that they have groomed after them. So if you go to any organization that I've worked for, I'm proud to say I've left leaders that have taken over and they're even doing better than I was doing. So it actually inspires me and it gives me confidence that, okay, I left this and they are even doing better than me. So it inspires confidence in me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and indeed you've done very well. One of those sisters who's always bragging, You know, Joey set up the first mutual medical aid, and it is doing very well. The CBZ Risk and Advisory, it is doing very well. So well done for that.
Thank you.
For setting up brilliant teams that carried over the baton. And which leads me to my next question. Still on Nehemiah, I will give you the background again. This one, I know you're passionate. You're a passionate strategist. And you've implemented very effective strategies, even at national levels. So, when Nehemiah embarked on rebuilding Jerusalem's walls, Nehemiah was a brilliant strategist. You should read the book of Nehemiah. I'll keep emphasizing because biblically he was a brilliant strategist. He first faced opposition from Sanballat and Tobiah. I'm sure you've heard Sanballat and Tobiah, who mocked, threatened, and tried to distract him from his mission. This is in the book of Nehemiah 4. Despite these challenges, Nehemiah formulated a strategy to protect his team and complete the project. So Nehemiah's strategy to counter the threats from Sanballat and Tobiah involved arming his workers and assigning them to build with one hand holding a weapon and the other is constructing the wall. Even at night, he said, you sleep with your weapon so that we finish constructing this wall of Jerusalem. Now, Joey, as a former strategy director at Zimra, he played a key role in shaping the organization's strategic direction. Given the complexities of tax administration and the importance of effective strategy in that space, I'm sure it was a daunting task. Can you share some of the most significant challenges you faced in that role and how you overcame them to drive success for Zimra?
Thank you so much. I think quite insightful lessons from the book of Nehemiah when you're saying they were using one hand to construct walls and one hand to protect. I think throughout my corporate career, I've learned that in business and in life, not everyone means well. You might assume that in life, everyone means well. I've seen trials and tribulations where you think you're doing good, but you're surprised to say there are certain people who would want to obstruct your progress. It's natural. As a leader, you need to understand that not everyone in life means well. You have mentioned that I'm a strategist, and I would want to go back in history to say it's a talent that I think perhaps God let me realize it later. In fact, my profession is I did mathematics, BSc mathematics and statistics at university. I also did an honors in statistics. I started my working career working for a life assurance company, doing modeling. I really wanted to be an actuary. In fact, I'm a figures person, so I wanted to be an actuary, so I was working for this insurance company as an operations manager. And then someday I saw an advert in the newspaper which said it was an advert for head of risk management, reporting to the chief executive officer. It was just a very high post. It needed someone with experience in risk management in the banking sector. I did not have any experience in the banking sector, zero experience. More so to say the position was at executive, reporting to the CEO. But me, being just me, I just applied for that position because I felt I knew risk management enough. Yes, I did not have any experience in risk management, but in a bank, but I just applied. So I was actually surprised to be called for an interview. When I was called, I think the people called me out of curiosity to say, why is this young man applying for this position? He has zero experience. So as I was presenting to them, they asked me about risk management. I gave them the principles, everything. But they said, Joey, you've got zero experience in risk management. Why are you applying for this position and you're starting at a higher position, head, and you are reporting to the CEO? Then I started explaining to them to say, look, the risk management principles are the same. Yes, I'm in the insurance sector, but if I come to the banking sector, it's the same. It's a question of me just maybe going 5 days, trying to translate the risk management insurance into the banking. The way I was explaining to them, it led to a lady to realize my potential. She said, no, look, Joey, He said, do you want to do actuarial science? You are not an actuarial scientist, you are a strategist. The way you are speaking to us, you are a strategist. We've got a role which is lower, that of a corporate strategy analyst. Would you want it? Then I was happy then to leave insurance to go into banking. Then I said, no, I would want that position. Then boom, it was on a Friday. She said, in the afternoon, you go and do your medicals. And on Monday, I started a new role. That's why I became a strategist. So what am I saying? At times, you might have hidden talent that requires certain special circumstances for you to be discovered. And I'm happy and very grateful to that lady who discovered me. Her name is Francesca Zinyemba. She used to work for IDBZ. I can say it to her. She really discovered me. Then suddenly I then changed from doing actuarial science. Now I'm doing strategy. And I've always been inspired by joining new organizations, trying to shape new strategies, trying to turn around strategies. So it has kept me going. I think that's where the grrr came from. We always want people to keep on moving because life is not static. The moment you become static, you die. So we encourage people to keep on moving. So the book of Nehemiah, coming back to your book of Nehemiah, where he said, at times leaders, you inspire people to build at the same time defending. Not everyone means well in life. It's natural, it's expected, it's part of life. But at times you have to build your defensive strategies whilst you're progressing forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, a great response. But I still need you to touch a little bit on the Zimra. How was the journey as a strategy director?
Okay.
Without divulging too much.
No, it's okay. Again, I do a lot of story writing. I've got a story for Zimra, which I call the Sunday Mail.
Okay.
How I joined Zimra, I called it the Sunday Mail. It was just a lazy Sunday morning. I was at home, just sitting in the garden, but then I thought I should take a walk to go to buy a newspaper, the Sunday Mail. And when I bought that Sunday Mail, because when I was working for CBZ, I was not in the job market. CBZ is a good organization, brilliant, blue chip organization. But when I went to buy that Sunday Mail, that's when I saw the advert for Director for Strategy, Research and Modernization. And then immediately I just knew, and I was confident and had faith, I just knew that my next stop would be Zimra. So that's when I applied for the job. I didn't have experience in taxis, but I believe if you've got faith and if you believe in yourself, you are able to get whatever you want. So when I went for the interviews, I managed to convince the interview panel and I got the job. So suddenly I found myself at Zimra. I didn't have taxis experience. I was coming from the insurance sector. But a strategist is always a strategist. Remember the story that I told you about being identified by this lady at IDBZ to say my role is strategy. So when I joined there, it was very big, and I'm happy and I'm grateful. I had a very good experience at Zimra. Zimra is a talent organization. There are a lot of skills within Zimra. I was so amazed. And our journey even to implement the Zimra change management strategy, it was exciting. The people there are motivated. The people they always want to learn, and it was a good experience trying to build their change management strategy. And I'm happy they are still implementing it. It's going on. They now have new systems. The spirit of change is still there at Zimra. It was really an honor for me to really have passed through Zimra. But the question says, okay, Zimra is a blue chip organization. Then why do you leave it to go to another organization that is again seemingly struggling? But I'm happy to say the organization that I'm currently working for is actually now on the rise. So again, I left Zimra to join this organization, and I'm happy to say things are now starting to move. Like the grrr, we are now moving. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, we have this question. I called it golf versus soccer question. As a CEO, you are expected maybe to choose a more traditional hobby like playing golf, but instead, I know you love soccer. What is it about soccer that resonates with you? And why soccer? For you, why soccer, not golf?
I think if people ask you, you are a human being first before you are a CEO. I think that's where people lose it. I am me, I'm Joey before I'm CEO, and I've always tried to live to that practice, to say I am a human being first before I am CEO. In this life, there is a lot of conformity expectations. And at times you spend your life trying to conform, at the same time foregoing your happiness. So at times we tend to be what we are not. I am me, I love soccer, and I've always followed soccer, and I've been the chairman of Koba FC. But that being said, if you are a leader, obviously you're expected to network.
Yes.
So if you're expected to network, the issue of golf, you can't really ignore, because most decision makers, they actually go and play golf. Decisions are made on the golf course, so you are expected, obviously, to comply. But it does not really say you should not be who you are. I myself, I take everyone seriously. Everyone that I interact with, I take them seriously, except myself. I laugh at myself. I would love to joke. I would love to do things, because I don't take myself seriously. Therefore, it has helped me to manage the stress that comes along the way. I even see people coming with me with their perceived problems of the organization. I just laugh. So that's me. I've decided to say, okay, I love soccer, but I'm also expected to be networking at my level. So it's a question of now balancing. But leaders should not forget that they are human beings first before they are executive managers.
All right. And by the way, I really love your open approach. You are really an approachable person. So, before embarking on his journey to rebuild the walls, Nehemiah was a cupbearer for a king. Remember, he was in exile. So he was working as a cupbearer. And he told the king, when he decided that he was going to rebuild the walls, he told the king that I intend to go and rebuild the walls. And the first question that the king asked him was, how long will it take to execute this project? And Nehemiah specified the time, though it is not written in black and white, the time exactly. But he did respond to the king that I'll take such and such a time. And the king allowed him to go. Right. Now, Joey, I know you as somebody who values time highly. Can you share why time is such a crucial pillar for you? And what strategies do you use as a leader to effectively manage your time and prioritize tasks to achieve your goals?
Thank you so much. I think time management is very key for leaders and business executives, because if you are not careful, you can easily lose your social life. You can easily lose your family time if you are not careful as a leader, particularly if you are not able to empower your subordinates, because you need to have a balanced life, time for family, time for fun, time for worshiping, and time for work. So if you're not careful as a leader, you might lose that social life, which is why you see leaders, executive managers, they are sometimes stressed, and there are sometimes their BPs are high. So if you're not careful, you might lose your social life. So indeed, like the book of Nehemiah says, time management is very critical. I always give this example or this quote by Abraham Lincoln, who says, if you are given 6 hours to chop down a tree, spend the first 4 hours planning and sharpening the axe, and the last 2 hours executing. So the role of planning becomes key to leaders in terms of you doing your proper planning, involving your subordinates in planning to make sure that when it's time for execution, it's accurate. It may never be 100% accurate, but the accuracy rate is high. So planning is very key. Planning for your time at work, planning for your family holiday, planning for your fun, planning for your worshiping is very key. You need to have proper time management, and planning is very key. Do not lose your social life because you're a leader. Do not lose your family life because you're a leader. Make sure that you maximize on all the facets. You have a balanced life as a leader.
Okay. So you work with the results. You work smart. I call it working smart. Wherever you plan, like you said, to execute, before executing a project, you have to really plan and not be a busybody. I move on to my next question on applause. How to stay motivated without applause. That's what I call this question. Nehemiah, when he was rebuilding the wall, he faced so much challenges. But what's striking is that he completed the project despite facing intense opposition and criticism without any applause. Apana pakataurwa in the book of Nehemiah kuti akazomuombera asvika pahafu. Nobody was clapping for nobody. They were just constructing. Actually, they were facing intimidation from all angles. No one was clapping, which I know leaders is a challenge that most leaders go through. So, Joey, how do you stay motivated and driven when faced with such situations where you know probably at some point you're like, I deserve an accolade, I deserve an applause, but no one is clapping for you. But you know you've done very well. How do you stay on top of your game despite getting no applause sometimes?
Yeah, I think the key to leadership is not expecting any applause from anyone, but at the same time making sure that you applause your subordinates with every little chance that allows you to applause. I remember at Zimra I was known as Mr. Encouragement. I would at every moment say, let's encourage someone, we just clap hands for them. I've carried on that culture to just applause the little milestones that my subordinates, the little achievements, that so they are following suit, they are also applauding me in return. But as a leader, at times, you just need to know that it's your job to influence people. If you don't receive the applause, keep on going until you are rewarded. You might be rewarded. I always joke with people to say, if they ask, how's work? I always say, I'm working hard. If I'm not rewarded on earth, I will get the heavenly kingdomship. So so I've always inspired myself to say, okay, if I continue to work hard, even if I don't get applause, I'll get the heavenly kingdomship. So it has kept me going, but I've also learned myself to celebrate the key milestones. And here I want to quote Chinua Achebe when he said, the lizard that jumped from a high rock tree said it would praise itself if no one else did. So I've got that culture of even if no one applauds for me, I just clap for myself inside. I'm just happy that I've achieved this. So I've learned to celebrate small key milestones. And in a corporate world, it's very important to celebrate small corporate milestones, celebrate your staff members, have the worker of the year, have the monthly worker of the year, just celebrate them. Because at times, employees leave not necessarily because of how much they are getting. They also leave the environment. Employees also leave the character or the toxic character or the toxic behaviors of their bosses. But if you learn to appreciate them, learn to applaud for them, even if as a leader you're not being applauded, because that's your role anyway. Don't expect someone to applaud to you because you've paid them salaries. No. It's your leadership role, but make sure that you celebrate key milestones of the people or of the foot soldiers that are implementing the strategy.
Well, thank you. So today, I just want to clap for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well done for all the milestones. Well done for all the brilliant projects that you've executed. Even at national level, you're doing very well.
Yeah, sometimes perhaps you might not get the reward now. I remember working for CBZ, where we worked with the team to start new businesses, to start new subsidiaries. Yeah, I didn't think I'll be back at CBZ, but now I'm back at CBZ as a board member, which is sort of something that humbled me, something that said, okay, maybe, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Moving on to the next question on how to navigate eventual transition as a CEO. We might have touched a little bit on it, so I'll make it very brief. Joey, as a seasoned CEO, you've likely thought about the eventual transition from your current role. When that time comes, how do you plan to leverage your experience and expertise to take on new challenges? How do you prepare yourself for a new project?
Yeah, definitely. I'm one passionate advocate for life after formal employment. because if you are in a C-suite position, if you are a CEO or a director, it's called an exit lounge position, because basically you are, anytime you can leave the organization, shareholders might say, okay, move out, or other circumstances. So you are sort of in a departure lounge. So my belief is to say, if you are a CEO or a director, you need to leverage on your experiences that you have gained throughout the life to start to prepare to influence others after you leave position. For example, you can venture into consultants. You can also continue with your business. For myself, I have started an organization called Eternal Wealth Advisory Services, because I have more than 20 years experience in the insurance and advisory services. So I said, after I leave my former role as the CEO, perhaps I can just go into consultants, where you also advise people, where you also even groom other young leaders, other young entrepreneurs, business coaching. I've gained a lot of experiences throughout my corporate life. In fact, I always tell people that I've got a PhD in failure. I've failed a lot of times, but I have turned lemons into lemonade, where I'm using my failures, trying to teach other young business executives on what to do and what not to do. So yes, the CEO position or leadership position, MD position, they are sort of exit lounge positions, and I believe people should start planning for their exit. So my exit will be within the Eternal Wealth Advisory Services.
All right, thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned Eternal Wealth, because I was going to ask you a question on that. Just a quick one. Distinction between wealth and riches. Quickly say something about that.
Yeah, definitely. There's obviously a big difference between being rich, what we call mbinga, and being wealth, what we call mufumi. Being wealth is silent. Mufumi is silent. They always say money does not make sound, but coins makes a lot of noise. So being wealth means you are not only rich in money. There is financial wealth, which is your money, your assets, your financial well-being, which is financial wealth. There is also the health wealth, where we are talking about your health, yourself, your physical fitness. There is also the social wealth, which is your social capital, your family life, just your happiness. And there's also the spiritual wealth, which is your connection with the Almighty. So these are the four facets that makes a person to be said he is wealth. So you notice that as executives, as employees, we are busy chasing money, but we sort of forget the other spiritual, the health wealth, and the social wealth. So I'm an advocate for people to have a balanced life, to have real wealth, not just being rich. Binga, no. Yes.
Okay. I'll go on to my last question. Last year, you marked a significant milestone by turning 50. What made this birthday special? I remember I would check your Facebook. You were posting almost throughout the whole year. Why was it important for you to commemorate it in such a way? And reflecting on your 50 years of life, what would you say is the most profound lesson you've learned?
Thank you so much. I'm one proponent who believes that we should always thank God for the gift of life. At times we are always complaining, always whining, but we forget to count our blessings. So I'm one person who will not forget my birthday, who will not forget to celebrate life. So for me, 50 was a milestone. I remember when I was very young, seeing my boss was starting an economics degree at the age of 50. Then I was saying, this guy is very old. Why is he starting an economics degree? I'm actually looking for him so that I apologize to him, because I've actually started my doctorate degree at 51. So I want to apologize to him, to say maybe you were too young. So I really believe in celebrating life. I really believe in people. We should count our blessings. We should remove the negativity and focus on the positivity. Obviously, life is going to come with challenges, but if you focus on negatives, you are not going to achieve anything. Let's focus on positivity. So 50 to me was a great milestone. I really thank God for giving me the chance, or for giving me the privilege to reach my second 50 years. Obviously, this is my second and last episode. So it was my way of thanking God for the gift of life. It was also my way of thanking family for being there for me. And the lesson that I learned over my first 50 years was everybody, every human being is born with a gift. There's no one who comes to the earth without a gift. So the challenge is for you to realize a gift and work passionately in unlocking that gift that God gave you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this episode of the Worship Hall on scaling the corporate world. Thank you for tuning in to this insightful conversation with Mr. Joey. We explored and learned valuable lessons drawn from the book of Nehemiah, who was a leader. And Joey shared his expertise on driving success in complex environments. We hope you as the audience have drawn important lessons which will help you to construct your own wars. If you are a corporate leader, hope you were inspired to improve your own wars in the corporate space that you are leading. Do tune in the next episode. You never know, you might be the next builder that we shall invite to raise a war. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. And if you haven't watched the previous episodes, please click on our YouTube channel and watch the previous episodes. Once again, thank you so much for your support.